my sound? Do I sound good? Or should
Yeah,
I
you
get some
sound
headphones?
fine. Hmm.
Because, we went upgrade. It's been a minute, Andre, since we Vibelytical.
I know, right? Uh,
Yeah, I've been in transition. And you've been in
you,
transition too. Into
I
life
have
after
been.
into life after degrees.
I mean, I'm just saying. And I've been physically going into work. So I've been going into the office to work now. So I'm not teleworking anymore. So that's been a change for me too. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I'm pulling up my notes for my topic. I'm not sure what I didn't look at the title. I don't know what you titled this.
I just
Um,
said episode 10, and I use Roman numeral X because I feel like it's gonna get Malcolm X. I'm kidding.
so even though I look like a bum and you're in that very nice shirt, we still color coordinated.
See? And so I got to give a little bit of with that being said, so I'm wearing this shirt tonight in celebration of my grandfather's life, uh, which was a very reflective day for me yesterday. I wasn't able to go to Hawaii considering COVID-19 and a 14-day quarantine. And Hawaii, I think they're either locked down again or going back into lockdown. Uh, so I'm wearing this shirt in honor of him, and this was also a ring that he left me back with the bling bling on the side,
Come on,
you know.
Ring.
And it's red jade. And he liked rings and boots, and he was a construction worker, owned his own business called Doral Construction. It's posted on my Facebook if anybody cared to check it out. And the reason why I say that is because like Shay, my husband, was never able to meet him. He didn't get a chance to meet him, but as we watched, he said he felt like he knew him. And I would say this too, that death hits different when that person lived a wonderful, blessed life, and they made a difference to other people. And so not only did I get to enjoy him, but he was enjoyed by everyone. And because he, built things with his hands, he left things behind for people to remember him by. He always had the best snacks. He made the best sushi. And it just helped me celebrate something because as EOs, we all about diversity. And I just realized like I'm so multicultural. Like he was Filipino. My grandfather is Filipino. And so it just helped, celebrate different cultures and he had all these pictures. It brought back all these memories. And it was just a wonderful celebration. And shout out to my mom because like she set it up and she wanted it to have a flow. There was some song selection, some great singing in there, and it was just, yeah, it was a good time. And then the same day, I think that's when the news came out about Chadwick Boseman dying, passing at 43, 4 years, struggling with colon cancer. And so I also celebrated him yesterday because if you have not listened to his Harvard graduation speech, that's what it's called, right? Graduation speech?
The commencement speech.
Commencement speech. Thank you. I knew it was called something. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, if you have not watched his Harvard commencement speech, please do. And it will give you something to celebrate because we're all about uplifting and edifying here at Vibelytical. And so if you go and you watch his speech, it'll help you connect, particularly when he talked about Muhammad Ali and that speech that that conversation that he had with Muhammad Ali where he had his fists up and he talked about connecting with your purpose you know so clearly, and I'll say this and shut up, but clearly like he was working and doing these things, movies like he Black Panther was one of the most highest grossing Marvel movies or movies period. I don't
The
know.
the highest Marvel movie.
Okay, the highest Marvel movie, and so he was working and he killed it. He
It
killed the
surpassed
role.
Avengers, I think, or something like that. Because Avengers was
Okay,
the number
the
one, and
top.
then honey.
Yeah.
The Black Panther came through and snatched wigs.
See,
So
and so that, and then James Brown. I love James Brown, and I feel like he just really did a great honor to James Brown by playing that role. He played that thing. So that's what's been going on with me. So my friend came today, was not able to get on base. That's a weird thing. But we went for Mexican food, and then we went to a little bit of sightseeing that I haven't done since I had been here. There was a lighthouse. We went out, took some pictures, walked around, got some ice cream. It was a nice day today,
it
you
was a
know?
nice day too. It was a nice day over here in Kentucky too.
Hmm.
Yeah. So as for me, I guess I'll talk about a little bit about me and my weekend and my time,
Yeah,
and then
please
I'll
do.
jump right into my topic. So my Friday was very busy at work. What I'm noticing is that there's a trend in the EO office for me is that EO complaints come in on Friday.
Mm,
I feel like I barely get any kind of person hit me up during the week, but for some reason when Friday hit, it's like everybody comes through. So I service cadets and military service members because I'm in cadet command for cadet command and Fort Knox. So I
hmm.
service them, and I was telling Brandon this earlier, but the regulation changed on 24 July in reference to the EO program, and now cadets can file formal complaints now. So the cadets are coming through. The cadets are
Hmm.
coming through with EO complaints. I can't discuss those. I discussed them with Brandon offline, but yeah, it's there. The people are coming through with different EO violations and different things like that. So I have a total of two cadets. Well, I have three cadets, and then I have one service member that I am taking care of a formal complaint on. So
Mm,
um, yeah, it's been mentally taxing for me. So Friday I had a glass of wine. I turned up by myself, turned up with my red wine to relax my nerves. Saturday was a chill day. I hung out with my good friend Chris. He's one of my really, really close friends here that I made in just a short time. I met him during the pandemic, but he's amazing. So shout out to Chris. He doesn't have Facebook, but just shout out to
mm,
him.
hmm.
And then today has been a lazy day for me, so nothing special
Hmm.
with my day today. I'm just I'm ready for Labor Day weekend to come through so I can have my
Hmm.
Friday and Monday off. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Dang, Brandon, you are so close to the
Am I
camera. You're like, I can reach
on
out and
it?
touch you. Like, Lord Jesus. No, no,
Okay,
no.
so direct me, co-host. How?
So just back up some a little bit. Just
Okay, how's
back
that?
up some. That's better. Because it seems like you were like this. It was like, God, look at you.
I was just trying to match your height because I was looking down like, is my headspace gone now?
No, it's good. It's good.
I love how you be clowning me.
I'm like, can you?
Can you back up?
I mean, it's like you all up on the camera, like God,
Like
because
Busta Rhymes.
right, like you're close. Like I don't know if you need to back up some or if you because the camera's good. I
Hmm.
just feel like you need to back up. I feel like you.
Okay.
There you go. You backing up. So I see a
Okay.
couple people. Are I see Danielle and I think Gary's on. Hey Gary. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on my topic.
Okay.
So my topic is the title of my topic is called "Less Prison Time, Morals or Money." And for all of those individuals that are watching, if you have anything that you want to input or say in reference to my topic, please type it in and say it. I will read them aloud, and Brandon and I will discuss it. But my topic is less prison time. Is it morals or money? And then I'll add or both. So I have a lot of notes, so hopefully I can get through this pretty quickly. Because I wrote a lot of information down in reference to this topic. Because when I think about prison time, when I think about someone getting prison time, I feel like there's a lot of prison sentences, according to different states, that are way more extensive than others. So, like, I feel like when it comes down to like if someone gets arrested for drugs in Oklahoma, is way more
Mm-hmm.
severe than someone that's maybe in Nevada or something. I'm just throwing out the states, but
Mm-hmm.
um, the laws, when it comes down to the different laws in different states, it has that. So I want to talk about prison time, and is less prison time all about morals, or is it about money? Because you got to think about money. Because when
Mm-hmm.
you go to prison, as we all know, I mean, our taxes go to the. I mean, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just saying, I'm just throwing it out there. So I want to talk about this woman. Her name is Alexis Nicholson. She's 25 years old, and she has a picture of her and her dad on her 8th birthday, and it's a picture of them two in a photo booth at like a carnival or whatever, with their heads against each other posing. It was like a real cute little photo, right? And her father, Reggie Nicholson, has 3 children, so she's one of the 3 children. But Alexis is her only daughter, so he has 2 sons, and then Alexis is her daughter.
Mm.
Um, well, back when she was 8 years old, at her 8th birthday party, after the carnival, they had a part. Well, they had the party. They had the carnival and then the party. So they went to the
Okay.
carnival, celebrated their birthday, and then took it to the house. And her dad was arrested.
Mm.
Um, and he was just 25 years old back then. So he was 25 years old when he got arrested. Um, and I'll go into what happened. So while they were at the carnival, the alarm to his house went off, right? And the police went there to check out what was going on. So the alarm went off in the house. The police went to go check it out. Reggie and the family were not home when the alarm went off. So the police showed up, and once Reggie got there, his door was left wide open. So like
Mm.
so he kind of pulled in kind of around the same time the cops did. So like almost simultaneously, like almost
Mm-hmm.
together. So pulled in, um, and he told the cops to go in and check what's going on, because he's like, I'm not going in the house. Like, we're not going in the house if somebody in there trying to get us. You know what I mean? So he told the police to go
Mm-hmm.
in there and check. Well, when he told the police officers to go in and check, the police ran into a shoebox and found a gun, drugs, and money inside.
Okay.
And that apparently they're saying that it belonged to Reggie, but they arrested Reggie because of it. So there were
Mm.
drugs, a gun, and money inside of this shoebox. So in this shoebox, you all, they found 635 grams of crack cocaine, which is equivalent to 2 soda cans.
Mm.
They found over a pound of, which is a little over a pound. Um, and in the state of Oklahoma, that's considered trafficking.
Mm.
And this happened in 2003. So this happened in 2003.
Okay.
So, so he was arrested for that. So,
Mm-hmm.
so I kind of want to go over some information that I looked up in reference to this in the state of Oklahoma. So
Mm-hmm.
two drug convictions and a trafficking conviction, that equates to life in prison in Oklahoma.
Mm.
So that's why I wanted to bring up earlier about, like, okay, we're talking about
Mm.
drugs here.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about somebody killing somebody or murdering
Mm-hmm.
someone or whatever. We're talking about just drugs. So he was told by the prosecutor that they could give him 1,000,000 years. Now, I know that sounds
Mm.
very like weird and sounds like
Mm-hmm.
almost like unreal, but I'm literally going off of the interview that Reggie had with, because this is my research. So the prosecutor told him that they can give him 1,000,000 years, right? And but the
Mm-hmm.
jury, now this is in the state of Oklahoma, y'all. The jury added 1,650 years to his already existing life sentence, you all. Now I just had to pause because I'm sitting there like,
Mm.
So the prosecutor said that they could give him 1,000,000 years. Then you're telling me that the jury went ahead and said, oh, 1,650 as well.
Mm.
So even though he didn't do anything violent. So when we think about violent crimes, when we think about crimes where you are endangering somebody's life, none of that
Yeah.
happened.
Mm-hmm.
So now this sentence was out during the time that Democrats and Republicans were trying to top one another with how tough they could be on crime. So especially on drugs and in
Mm-hmm.
particular crack. So back in this time, who was the, I want to say George Bush was the president at the
Mm-hmm.
time. So this was the time where they were trying to. At this time, it was a Republican in office, so the Democrat. All these folks were like, all these different. The two parties were like trying to like make
Mm-hmm.
the laws a lot more stricter on drugs and all that, right?
Okay.
So let's fast forward. After 17 years behind bars, this February, so before the pandemic hit, 17 years, Reggie was able to go to a hearing to be considered to be released from prison one day,
Mm.
right? So even when he
Mm-hmm.
thought that it could never happen, he
Mm.
always maintained a positive attitude towards it,
Okay.
right? So Reggie was able to have a hearing because lawmakers said that they might have went too far, not only with Reggie, but with others that were convicted of similar crimes. So
Mm.
like I said, interrupt me, anyone, interrupt me if you want to, but isn't that astounding that it took this long for now lawmakers to be like, maybe we was a little too harsh on some
Yeah.
of these crimes that were committed, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for years now I'm pegging Oklahoma. So if you're from Oklahoma, I'm very sorry, but I'm giving information in reference to Oklahoma. So do not take offense to it, but I'm putting information in reference to Oklahoma. My grandmother was from Oklahoma.
Mm.
So for years, Oklahoma has put more people in prison per capita than any other state in the United States.
Mm.
It's deep, right? So
Mm-hmm.
in my mind, it may be partially about morals, but more about money. So I'm gonna discuss COVID-19 in a little bit because I'm gonna tie it into COVID-19. And when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to funding, when it comes to money and all that, right? So Glenn Blake is a public defender in Oklahoma, right? And he was able to speak. Okay, Kitty. Oh, the
I
cat's
got a
like,
co-host,
I want to
right?
hear the information, and I want to see what's going on. I love it so
Yeah.
much. I can't wait to like visit your cats and visit you. So anyway, Glenn Blake is a public defender, and he was able to speak on, and he's looking at me like, okay, what you talk about? He
Right.
was able to speak on the sentence concerning Reggie to the board, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it
Mm-hmm.
lasted only 6 minutes, y'all, like 6 minutes. And they voted yes on him getting released instead of doing life in prison. So that's celebratory right there. So this
Yeah.
happened in February of this year.
Okay.
So Glenn Blake, the public defender, will be asking the parole board to be shortening other sentences as well, because
Mm-hmm.
apparently he has 19 other cases in Oklahoma that kind of
Mm.
coincide to what Reggie went through, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna talk to you all about Glenn Blake. So Glenn Blake is a Caucasian. Oh, so Reggie is a black man. I wanted to make sure I put races in there. Reggie's a black
Okay.
man. Okay, Reggie,
Okay.
Alexis, black folks. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now Glenn Blake is white, Caucasian.
Mm-hmm.
Glenn Blake is from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he has done 2 years in prison in the past.
Okay.
He was in prison for drug trafficking, and he had a drug trafficking charge when he was an employment lawyer. So he was actually an employment lawyer when he was charged for drugs. So
Mm.
he's he had the same charge basically as Reggie, and he had meth on him.
Mm.
So, right, meth. He was sentenced to 6 years in prison. I want you to think about that. 6 year sentence for this Caucasian man.
Mm-hmm.
And Reggie has
A million
a
16
million, 1650.
thousand. Yes.
Right. Like what? So
Mm.
so Glenn got out for good behavior at 2.5 years. So
Mm.
he didn't even do his 6 years. And
Mhm.
he noticed that he got out. And one thing I really admired about Glenn Blake is that he
Mhm.
admitted that he got out because he was a privileged white man.
Mm.
He literally, oh, he said it. He said, for my sentence to mirror Reggie's, I did 2.5 years. Reggie
Mm.
is still in, and we were both
Mm.
in Oklahoma, the same city. They were from the same place.
Mm.
Same place. Maybe not the
Okay.
same neighborhood, but the same city, right?
Right. Mhm.
So,
Same
so
same district, same priest, like
same
same
precinct,
court,
praying, same court,
same court,
same
county.
same county, probably the same jail. I don't know, but just everything was the same. So Glenn
Mhm.
Blake, so Glenn made the connection to an old friend where he did 200 hours of community service at the firm. This is after he got out. So he did 200 hours of community service at the firm he was working in, and was able to get his law license back after interning. So imagine being an employment lawyer, you lose your bar or
Mhm.
whatever, then you get out, and then he was able to get his law license back.
Woo.
This is deep, right?
Mhm.
So now I'm gonna start. So his passion. So I'm gonna tell you, Glenn's passion was to ensure
Mhm.
that he reached out to the Black community, and
Mhm.
helped those individuals not to get life in prison.
Mhm.
And he knew, and he admitted this. He said he knew he was sitting on privilege and wanted to pay it forward. And
Mm.
I thought that was powerful because I'm like, wow,
Mhm.
it's just an amazing feeling to know that um, there are Americans now that are saying, you know what, I'm gonna pay it
Mhm.
forward. Like I got to use the privilege that I have
Yeah.
for the Black community because,
Shay is watching.
hey
Thank you, Shay.
Shay.
Love you, Shay. Love you, boo.
Oh, okay. That's Brandon's husband. For those of you who don't know, um, so um, so now I'm going to go into another thing. So other prisons. So I'm going to talk about other prisons. So other
Mhm.
prisons across the U.S. have released inmates because of COVID-19.
Mhm.
Okay, and I'm pretty sure most of you all know that, right?
Yep.
If you were caught with drugs or you stole something, and you die in prison because of COVID, that is not a fair sentence.
Mhm.
So that is what prisons across the U.S. was like. You know what? If they have like these petty crimes or these crimes that were just not as like, okay, you didn't rape somebody or murder somebody or whatever, honey,
Mhm.
go, just go, right?
Mm.
So the pandemic has also slowed things down with getting Reggie out of prison, though, nonetheless.
Mhm.
So in
Mhm.
February was when the whole thing happened in February, right? But as far as like him finding out when he getting out, it slowed down for him, unfortunately. So, so the U.S. had laws that were created so that between the 70s and 90s, you all, it was easy to get into prison, right? But much
Mhm.
harder to get out of prison. Much harder to get out,
Yep.
right? So it is so much harder that 1 in 142 people in the country are behind bars right now. 1 in 142 people are behind
Yeah.
bars. That is 2.3 million people are behind bars. That is
Mhm.
numbers based, and these numbers are from. I want to say that these are numbers as of, I want to say the end of July going into August, so it's fairly recent. Oklahoma became the number one incarcerator in the country. Number
Mm.
one. Number one on locking people up, locking up people of color, and number one locking up women.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, just Oklahoma. So we haven't even talked about no other state. And the reason why
Mm.
I'm targeting Oklahoma is because it's a shame. That
Mhm.
is crazy. Now, mind you, I'm gonna say this too because there. Shay says hi. I'm doing yard work and trying to pop in. so, so one thing I will say is with this, I understand that if there are individuals that break the law and commit crimes, they should serve their time. So I'm not sitting here saying that they should just get
Mhm.
like 2 weeks or something like
Mhm.
that behind bars or a month. No, they need to do some time because,
Mhm.
but I think a lot of folks, and like I said, y'all chime in. A lot of people kind of don't really realize that prison is a rehabilitative tool.
Mhm.
It's to say you did this
Ooh,
wrong. You did
okay,
this. You did
okay.
this, but well, yeah, I want you to speak on it.
So
But
so
prison is
so
supposed to be where you
so.
learn from your. Supposed to be. Now
Mm-hmm.
I know what it is, but
Mm-hmm.
it's supposed to be a time where you reflect on what you've done. So when
Mm-hmm.
you get out, it doesn't happen again, and it should not care. It should not follow you for the rest of your life. So go ahead,
Right.
Brandon. I want you to interject. Go ahead.
Okay, so let me try this one more time. I tried to put our title on there. And what was your title again? Because it's gonna refresh. Hopefully it will
Oh well.
refresh.
Okay.
Yours
Less
is
prison time,
mm-hmm. Less prison
morals,
time.
and then put a dash, and then put morals or money.
Okay. And mine is digesting media and truth.
Ooh.
Or digesting media. How about that with truth? With truth. Hopefully that will update it. Because I tried to last time and it didn't. Okay, it looks like it did. But the reason why I asked you what your title was again, because it fits with my title. Once again, we didn't talk this time we didn't talk about it. And sometimes when we start talking, I be like, dang, I wish we could have talked so I could do more research. But it's so funny how you're over there, I'm over here. We don't see each other every day, but we are perfect co-hosts for one another. And the reason why I
I
say that
love
is
it.
because prison is supposed to be that way. And look, like so we have to go back to something. We have to go back to something that's pivotal to right now, and which is why I want to say digesting media with truth. It's supposed to be that, but it's not that. And let's like, and by
Can I
no
finish
means,
my? So can I finish my? Because I'm nowhere near done. So if
yeah,
you're gonna, if you want to, because I don't mind you
it's just
digging
one
into.
point. It's just
Yeah,
one point on what you just said, how prison
yeah.
is supposed to be that. That's why I said it's just to interject and then I'm gonna be quiet. But I just wanted to set that foundation because it is gonna go into my topic. Um, and that is it's supposed to be that, but it's not that. It's not treated as that. And if you have not seen when Joe Biden was on the Senate floor advocating for the crime bill, please go and watch that because maybe that's what prison started out as. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Like you go back to the genesis of police, slave patrols, all that. Like we have a problem discussing matters that are true in the sense of prison should be rehabilitation. Do your time, come back out. Here's these programs so you can now be a contributing taxpayer, contributing member to society, and you got some skills that we probably need out here. It's some avenues and some skills that they probably can provide to the local community that they're not getting to because it's not a rehabilitative place, unfortunately. But if you have not, watch Joe Biden on the Senate floor for advocating for the crime bill for it to be passed for that legislation. And the only reason why I say that, and then I'm done right here. Only reason why I say that is because that crime bill, which later went on to produce other legislation, three strikes you're out, these kinds of things, led to mass incarceration in a country that says home of the free, land of the brave, home of the see. I can't even get it because it's
Land
not
of the
true.
free, home of the brave.
Home of the brave, but in theory it sounds good, but in practice, where is it?
Ooh, and that tied into my our episode about Thomas Jefferson, about how he
Yes.
knew slavery was terrible, but was a master to the slaves.
So
So
you're right. Okay, let me now. I got to comment on that. So you're right. Um, all men are created equal. Sounds good. In theory, sounds good. I believe it with my whole heart. But then in practice,
ooh, you better say it.
yeah,
You better say it, Brandon. I mean, I'm just saying.
yeah.
So yeah. Thank you so much, Brandon, for that.
Mhm,
So I'm gonna move on because I'm getting there, but it's a lot of notes. And like I
mhm.
said, please interject, you all. Like, please, for whoever's. I can't see how many people are on right now, but I think y'all probably just taking it in and just listening. So anywho, so, so I said earlier that Oklahoma became the number one incarcerator of in the country. So the number one in the country. So the number one locking up people of color and the number one in locking up women. Like, just knowing that statistic is like, it's like, whoa. And of course, there's always going to be a number one for everything, but I'm just Oklahoma is just being targeted. And like I said, if you're from Oklahoma, don't take offense to it. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the laws that are in Oklahoma. So, I mean, I'm putting out that disclaimer now. So Chris Steele. He's a Republican, and he was in the House of Representatives in Oklahoma. And when Reggie and Glenn were arrested for their drug charges, right? So during that time, and I'm just putting it out there. So if you like Chris Steele, I'm not shading him. I'm just stating what he said, because this is interviews that I've heard him speak on. This is the reason why I have my notes. So he said that he paid little attention to the actual crimes being committed and felt it was important to lock people up if they broke the law. So think about that right there. So he's just like, listen, if they break the law, like, lock them up. Like, and if you think about that when you think about it, like, on the grander scheme of things, it's like, yeah, lock folks up that commit crimes. But the missing piece was that he wasn't seeing that lawmakers were lengthening sentences, but he approved them. He approved those lengthened sentences. So the sentences that were those small, the drug crimes, petty crimes, I don't know if he just didn't read it because he was just relying on the lawmakers and saying, okay, this is what it is. He may have known the generic information of what was in there, but not the fine print. You know how, and I'm guilty of that. I'll be looking at the main stuff, but not even reading the fine print, like the stuff that really will let you know what's in that law. He was approving them, right? So, but in 2008, Chris was put in charge of the state's budget. Yeah, the budget, right? So during that time, Chris Steele, he realized that spending for corrections had become the second fastest growing expenditure.
Wow.
So he was like, wait a minute. So for Chris, he noticed that based on him being a Republican, that core values, grace, mercy, and forgiveness were what they stood for, which was why he ran for the position. But based on what has happened with prison sentences and for drugs in particular, he noticed that it was based on retribution and punishment, and he decided to delve into prison reform from that moment. So for him, he's like, okay, the Republican Party is about, and this is him talking, he's like, we're about core values, we're about grace, we're about mercy, we're about forgiveness, but Lord, these sentences are like incredibly too long. So I want to look into this. Now, this is a Republican talking. This is not Democrat. This is not independent. This is a Republican, right? So today, according to the Prison Policy Initiative, you can look up what that is, PPI, but Prison Policy Initiative, the incarceration punishment system costs the government and the public $182 billion a year. $182 billion, not million, billion dollars a year to include prisons and jails, the parole system, and the guards, because the guards are within that umbrella as well, the guards. So across the states, y'all, they have looked into changing their laws. So across all the states, because he started reaching out to different folks in the other states, like, hey, like, how y'all looking money-wise? Like, ooh, like, we need to look into this. So that's why my title is Less Prison Time. Is it about morals or is it about money? Or could it be a little bit of both, right? So that's the reason why the title is that.
Okay.
So back to Oklahoma, y'all. Back to Oklahoma. A group called Oklahomans for Criminal Justice Reform. That's the title. They said that the real problem is just how long the sentences are. So if the politicians are not doing anything about it, they will. So Chris Steele, the Republican, left the office and joined that group. He left. He left. He was like, I'm not going to sit in the House of Representatives. I'm leaving. This is a Caucasian Republican man, okay? So Chris, along with this group, gets an initiative on the ballot to let the people vote, and it passes. Simple drug possession became a misdemeanor, and the person gets way less time in Oklahoma.
Nice.
Beautiful, right? Okay,
Hmm.
so I'm almost done. So the group also looked into the ones in prison to get their sentences shortened. So in 2018, they knock on the door of the Tulsa Public Defender's Office, and guess who works there? Glenn Blake, the one I stated earlier.
Mm.
Glenn Blake works there, but he joins forces with the group as well. So Glenn Blake, the one that knows about Reggie's case, knows about all this stuff, has
Mm.
linked up with Chris Steele, who's the Republican, and they
Hmm.
join forces. So Glenn and the other law students show up to the prison and they talk to the drug inmates in the
Okay.
prison, right? And there were 50 of them in the room, right? That the parole board could not say no to, right? So 30 of them got approved by Mary Fallin. Mary Fallin was the former governor, and she signed them all. But these releases got popular, right? So these releases got popular, and the legislature expanded on it. So
Mm.
Kevin Stitt is the current governor of Oklahoma. He ordered a mass release, you all, and had 462 people walk out of prison early.
Mm.
And it took
Mm.
Oklahoma from being the number one incarcerator to number 3. So when it comes to money, it saved them $12 million.
Mm.
So those 462 people that got out early saved them $12 million.
So we got to look, because that's why I say I'm thinking like my mind is like a spider. It's like bam, like a spider web, like privatized prisons. Who was making that $12 million they saved? Somebody was making that at some point and more with the legalization of privatized prisons. And it's funny that this is your topic because I was just reading and looking at police officers who quit because of the quotas.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's these quotas for arrests, there's these quotas for tickets, traffic violations. There's quotas for these things, which it was a short video. I don't know if it was an NYPD police officer or not, but he was wearing an NYPD police officer shirt, and basically he was like, he said, with his New York accent, he was like, it doesn't matter if there's good police officers or not because there's quotas. He was like, and at the end of the day, if I don't fulfill these quotas, then I, am out of a job. And he was like, when I try to speak up, or when any of us try to speak up about something that we think is wrong, they try to demote us or fire us because you messing with their money. And so when we look at this right here, it's the like, maybe this is why people started to say defund the police. Um, But we really need to do away with qualified immunity. I feel like that's mad important first if we want to do anything about,
Breonna Taylor.
yes, say her name. If we want to do anything,
Breonna Taylor.
if we want to do anything about these people being senselessly murdered by the police and being prosecuted and facing jail time for it, the same people who scream in law and order, we need to do away with qualified immunity, and privatized prisons should not be a thing. Like if we had enough money, Andre, we can invest in prisons and get dividends from people being locked up. Does that make sense by any means? So now take that same idea to police quotas. Does that make sense by any means? Or is that a temptation slash motivator slash moneymaker for people to then go out and give traffic violations? So in essence, we might be able to say that racial profiling is monetized because he also said they give us the quotas and then they tell us the neighborhoods to go to in order to get the quotas. So how was that? So now that's why he said it doesn't matter if they're good cops because there's quotas. So yeah, you might be a good cop, but you have these quotas that you're pulling people
Well, it's
over.
kind of I was gonna say that pulling people over for traffic tickets, like so by the end of the month they need to have this amount of tickets,
Hmm. And
or
so
this amount of people pulled over by this time.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and so let's take it a step further. Like like, so traffic violations is one thing, but there's arrest quotas as well. So now let's take it to the police officer. I bet if we could go and interview the police officers who have planted guns on people, who have planted drug. Remember the guy who planted meth on the person and it's all on the body cam? What was his motivation for doing that? Was he trying to get that arrest quota for that month? So now we have monetized our own police who we say
Ooh,
are
my
here to
Aunt Judith is on. Hey, Auntie.
hey,
Sorry.
hey,
Sorry.
auntie, you're good. So we have monetized, those who are supposed to protect and serve. We have monetized them to now be terrorists and mercenaries on our streets. So protect and serve, and it's so crazy because like I have friends who go to different churches and stuff, and it's crazy how sometimes a pastor, a police officer, a priest, a fireman, these are professions and positions, titles, jobs, whatever you want to call them, that carry with it a certain amount of respect that comes with the position, right? Regardless if that person earned it or not, in the public view, that's how these people are looked at. And I
Yes.
think, I think that we don't even, I think it's kind of elementary to say, oh, all cops aren't bad. Nobody's even, who is trying to, police officers have a good, still, even all things considered, most people are respectful to police officers. It is my opinion that most people are still respectful to police officers and still listen to what they're asking them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 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 I think what police officers get mad about, or the other part is like the good police officers have to deal with the fact that these other ones over here are doing whatever they want and not facing the full extent of the law. So
Well,
because
that's what I have friends that are upset about that. I have police officers that are like, listen, I'm over here doing my job. I ain't violating nothing. I'm over here minding my business, but then I get looked at like the bad guy because I'm wearing the same uniform they're wearing and they're getting away with it. So it makes all of us look bad. So
right.
I hear both sides. So
Hmm.
I think that's the reason why people do say, because I'm guilty
Hmm.
of it. I used to say that all cops aren't bad because
Hmm.
I was defending the ones I personally know. Because I'm like, I
Yeah.
know cops that are legit, like they know what they're doing, they
Right.
abide by, they literally protect and serve. They
Hmm.
will take a bullet for someone. They will, like,
Hmm.
I just know that. So, but yes, it is elementary.
Oh,
Now that I hear your aspect on that, I do hear
yeah.
why you say it's elementary to say that all cops are bad because
Well,
there's more to it.
yeah, well, I think if I could explain that a little better, I would say it like this: the conversation in which people are saying all cops are not bad. Like I don't have a problem
Oh
with
yeah,
all lives.
I don't say it. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah,
I
like
get it.
I don't have a problem with people who say all lives matter. Yes, they do, but all lives matter is not antagonistic to Black Lives Matter, and Black Lives Matter is not antagonistic to all lives matter. I think that I think when I hear, not when you say it, but I'm just, we for the people, we vibing, we uplifting and edifying. When I hear people say all cops are not bad, to me, if I'm talking about the fact that qualified immunity exists, like I am not even trying to paint a picture that all cops are bad. You get what I'm saying? Like,
No, but
like
somebody else would assume that. Somebody else would
you,
be like, "Oh, so what you trying to say?" Like that is like,
yes.
and it's like, okay, you ain't got to roll your neck at me. Like, don't do that. So I
Yes.
get it. So
Hmm.
I have a few more notes because I want to
Okay, go
hear
ahead.
what y'all have to
Hmm.
say. And Auntie, please, if you want to say something too, because she's on.
And
Um,
Anthony, my soldier friend is on. Don't say nothing crazy, cause But hey, go ahead, chime in, please.
so I want to finish I only have three more good points to make. So New York, Connecticut, Vermont, Alaska, and New Jersey are doing much better at reducing their prison population. They've cut them by 30%.
Mm,
So after Oklahoma did their thing, it started spreading to those other states: New York, Connecticut, Vermont, Alaska, and New Jersey.
mm,
So in order for Oklahoma, you all, to be in the national average, they would have to release 12,000 people from prison.
mm,
But they have only released 1,000. They've
mm,
only released 1,000. So all in all,
mm,
prison time for crimes that are now considered misdemeanors could both be morally and monetarily good for the United States.
Mm,
It took many years for politicians to truly see how prison reform is important, regardless to their political views.
mm,
And I'm closing out on that.
mm. Thank you. That was great. I like the depth of information you brought. And it is pretty interesting that, these things took so long. Nevertheless, I'm glad they happened. And I am more curious to see if, what about the people who are currently locked up? Like the people in Oklahoma before this case started. Like I think we need to go back and look at, you know, different things. Like why is marijuana why? Like why is marijuana still illegal when it's legal in the predominantly white states, I
Ooh,
would say. That where the population is white, Colorado, Washington. What is that for?
I didn't think about it like that, Brandon. I didn't think about it like that. But you slapped
Yeah.
me in the face with that information. I didn't even
which
think.
which Kamala Harris is now in favor of legalizing marijuana. I think it's about time. That has come up in this administration as well, and I want to say I can't remember Obama administration, but I remember they were talking about it when Jeff Sessions was the Attorney
Mm-hmm,
General. They were talking
mm-hmm.
about like you know lessening or taking it off the what's that called? The Schedule 3, Model 3, what's that called? I forget the word sometimes, but Level 3, they were talking about removing marijuana, making it legal, and I think it should be legal. Um, it should. With the with the
Yeah.
with the prison thing and the sentencing, I
Yeah, I want to
think.
know how you feel about that because, like, me giving you those numbers, it even
Hmm.
shocked me just finding that information. Like 12,000. In order for Oklahoma to be in the national average, they would have to release
Hmm.
12,000 people, and they've only released 1,000.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there's still more people in Oklahoma that probably need to go home, but they
right.
still in there. So
Hmm.
I was just like,
Yes,
ooh,
and I
it's like,
and I think I would like to know if any of those prisons in Oklahoma are privatized. I'm gonna go look that up now. I'm
yeah,
gonna go
please
look
tell
up.
me, yeah,
Yeah, and I could
or
I
tell
could
us.
probably come back and report it on the next one.
Anthony said people in prison for longer than 6 months have a high risk of running inside jobs that make them extend their time due to new charges. So even if they entered on a simple drug charge, they end up staying for assault or whatnot, gangs. That is
Mm,
an interesting perspective to
mm,
bring up, which is probably why those other. So when I stated earlier about who said that, that's your friend, right, Anthony?
yeah.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
so what I'll say to that is, I think that's probably why uh, Governor Stitt, no, I'm sorry, former Governor Mary Fallon, there were 50 people that were brought to the parole board or that were brought to the board, right? But she only signed 30. So I'm going to assume, Anthony, with those 50 people, that 20 of them probably had done some stuff while they were in prison, and that's why she didn't
Hmm.
approve those. So that's something to consider as well. So thank you for that point
Hmm.
there, because that is something to consider. Because some folks do act up even more while they're in prison. They don't know how to act right,
Yeah.
and they just act up
So
even more. So
I was at lunch. One of my friends, he's about to take the bar in, I want to say in DC, and he had brought up the Stanford experiment. Do you know about that?
I
They
heard
made
of
it
it.
they made it into a movie. Um, and it was pretty crazy, and they had to stop the experiment. But it was basically here, you get some people to volunteer, and they advertised, I think, in the newspaper, and it's a prison experiment, a makeshift prison, and these people are the guards, and these people are the prisoners, and it just unfolds. And it's crazy because it's kind of showing what happens to this power dynamic. And I think, it would speak to what Anthony's talking about people in prison for longer than 6 months, is because the way that the prison guards started treating the prisoners. and the way that the prisoners started rebelling against the prison guards. And like it just, people lost their identity and like real fast. And they closed it down because people were psychologically, uh, I hate to say it like this, but psychologically damaged from this experience. Both the prison guards and the prison inmates. Like, I mean, it got crazy. It got crazy, and they shut it down. And I bring that up to say that, human dignity sometimes goes out the window when people get a little bit of power. Power makes people act, I guess, in certain ways that if you have not watched it, please go watch it because it would help round out this conversation and the aspects that we have. Or if you ever watch some of those prison shows, um, the reality I think is there's not enough of the idea of rehabilitation. Like, think about this. You go to prison for gang activity, for something you did while in a gang. Why would you be able to be in a gang in prison? Again, so to me, it's almost as if, you know, the idea of prison is is not something that is designed to rehabilitate or remove these behaviors, but designed to reinstill them. Because one thing that you didn't talk about is recidivism.
Yeah, I didn't talk about that.
I mean, for another show, but that would be interesting to find out how many of those people in prison, like, did time, got out, came right back, and
Ooh,
why is that? Why is
yeah.
that? And okay, we can get to
Well, I'm going
Anthony's
to read
comment.
Anthony's. Yeah, I want to read it. So it's part of life. Even good people are subject to survival. My point is, drug charges, unless mass distribution, should never carry a sentence. We have to eliminate prison time altogether for simple crimes, crimes to oneself. So, and so I want to elaborate. Thank you, Anthony. So I want to elaborate on that. Um, I mean, this may sound like unrealistic, but I'm going to say it. But I really feel that crimes altogether. So like it crimes altogether. So like I know that there's lawmakers have created prison sentences based on the crime itself, right? Like they've created that, right? I feel that they should adjust it according to the person. Does that make sense? So like if I did it, so if I me and you did the same crime, right? But my like I may have done it longer than you. Like, so my prison sentence may be longer because I've done it longer, which means that you just started. You may, I'm just throwing out an example. I'm not saying that that's what it should be, but I'm just saying, like, I
Hmm.
feel that when crimes are like, when you have a blanket, like, okay, everybody gets this and this is what it is, it takes away from the individual that did what they did and then the who they are as a person, like their actual, like, not saying that they, like, their morals disappeared when they committed the
Hmm.
crime, but like, I
Hmm.
just feel like it should be weighed differently. I don't know.
Hmm.
That's just unrealistic thinking there, but I felt like it tied into what he said about like we have to eliminate prison time altogether for simple crimes,
Yeah,
crimes to oneself.
crimes
So
to
like,
oneself.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think, it's kind of hard to talk about economic woes and human issues without talking about, I mean, we can't talk about prison time. We can't talk about crime without talking about poverty. We just can't. Like, you just can't. And Anthony kind of hinted at that, talking about survival. Like, yeah, that in the current system, people join a gang or whatever for survival in prison. Like, I feel like there's plenty of movies that show us, and there's all these shows on the National Geographic and History Channel and all these other channels that show what it's like in these prisons and why the people have to gang up. Uh, but shouldn't we be looking at ways to change that? And if we're really going to change recidivism, and if we're really going to change crime, then we have to look at poverty. We just have to. I know people don't want to, and I know people don't want um, to acknowledge the fact that crime and poverty go together, but these are facts. These are facts. And that's why my title is Digesting Media with Truth,
so let's
because
talk about that. I want
let's
to
talk
let's
about it.
get into that topic because
Okay.
I think we'll talk about prison and time for the whole show, and I don't want to do that. I want to hear
Okay.
your
Yeah.
topic. So let's
Okay,
move on to
so
yours.
first things first, we have to be careful in these times. The headline is designed to spark you. It is. Unfortunately, clickbait. Clickbait is a thing. Clickbait sells. People get paid for clicks, right? On our social media. So we can't act like we're oblivious to the fact that headlines are for clicks. They are. So when you look at an article and you look at its title, always go in and really digest the information. I think it's time to slow down with our information. Slow down long enough, you know, to actually digest what is this article really saying, and look for more of the story. Like the Kenosha, Wisconsin. So Jacob Blake
Ooh,
shot 7 times in the back. It could have been
ooh.
handled differently. Before we even get the chance to, make any decision about that story, here comes Kyle Rittenhouse, a 17-year-old who traveled, from a nearby state, and it's illegal for
16
him to
miles
have,
to be exact.
okay, illegal for him to have this AR-15 at 17, but here come and y'all know I'm politically agnostic. If you didn't, there, so I'm just gonna speak freely. Now, the Republican conservatives, self-titled Republican conservatives, like Ann Coulter says she want this young man to be her president, you know.
Wait,
hmm
that's what Encounter said. Oh,
Christians have raised over a Christian site has raised over $100,000 for this kid. Now, I'm not even gonna get down to the facts of what's right and wrong in this story because I'm talking about digesting media with truth. And I'm so people determine their own truths, right? But the way you digest the information will lead you to the truth. This is what I believe. And so when I look at this story, it's kind of like when a black person is killed by the police, what's the first thing that happens, Andre? George Floyd, what's the first thing that happens?
Lord Jesus. I don't even want to. Lord Jesus. It is such a
The
sensitive
first
topic. I'm just like,
okay, so
oh,
the
Lord.
okay, so the first thing that happens is that they bring up the fact that this person had a criminal record.
Yeah.
Now tie that back into all let's go all the way back to the Joe Biden Senate floor speech. We don't care about these people. We don't care if society didn't give them a chance. Those are his exact words. We don't care if society didn't give them a chance. They need to be locked up. We don't care about rehabilitation. Go look up his speech.
No,
So
I
now
saw
we
it. I saw it. I
okay, so
saw it.
so for those who haven't, please go look it up. And so it all plays a role into how they want us to digest the media to where nothing changes. You determine who they is. But I'm just saying they want us to digest this media to where nothing changes. And it's like, so when Kyle Rittenhouse, he's 17 years old and he got bodies on his hands now. And there is immediate defense of him. Just look at the timeline before the whole story is out. It's immediate defense of him that he was in self-defense.
I saw that.
There's no possible way that they could have been trying to disarm him so they didn't shoot nobody else. Then then this is what makes matters worse. Then they bring up the people he killed. They bring up their rap sheet. Like people are rejoicing. I'm on some army, I'm on some different groups on Facebook because I digest all information. I digest media. You know I do, Andre, right? Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna listen to the conservatives. I'm gonna listen to the conservatives who've been calling for civil war and a race war for a long time. People like Ben Shapiro. I told you, I said I put episode X because I was going. So what's up, Rico? Uh, Bennett, I know him from a long time ago. But when I look at what's happening, it's like they want you to only digest what they want you to digest. But you have to go and get the whole story. 17 years old. It's illegal. How did he get that gun? First of all, why was he there? So he was going there to protect property. Now, look, which brings us to another thought process, right? So when we look at police, are police there to protect and serve the public? Or are they there to protect and serve property? It could depend on where it's at and what's going on. Uh, But we've seen multiple times where in our history, and like, see, that's why we got to digest media with truth. And we most often have to look at our past to see where we are now. Tulsa, Oklahoma, riots. You know what I'm saying? Philadelphia, the burning of black neighborhoods. The bombing. The Tulsa, Oklahoma riots was the burning, where they killed hundreds of black people in this country who were successful, who were on their way up. So now when we're protesting in the midst of it, like, it's called a protest. Like, it's not supposed to feel good. It's not supposed to be comfortable. And we must separate protesters from rioters and looters. You can't conflate the two. But I, for one, think that it is very courageous to push against the machine. It's very courageous to critique your country. And to me, that's what makes you patriotic. Because there's very large, conservative and Democrats. No person, no group wants to be painted with a broad brush, right? Think about it. There's people who say, I'm a Republican, but I don't agree with this, right? People say, I'm a Democrat, but I don't agree with this. There's no way you can say you agree with everything your political party does. That's not realistic. And so when we try to paint people with a broad brush on who they are, what they believe, and that kind of thing, it gets very bad. And we're going into this place where there is a spiritual enticement to say what is good and what is evil. And this person deserved to be defended, and this person did it because he did this in his past. But if you ask me, people who say they're Christian, this is why I don't like the Christian label anymore. Because people who say they're Christian, like Yahusha, do you know that Yahusha was accused of being a devil? I was reading this week. Yahusha was accused of working with Beelzebub. And the interesting part about that is, what's up, Prophet Hartzell? What's up, Ortega? So he was accused for being a devil. Andre, ask me why.
Why?
For casting out devils. He was accused. They was like, you must be a devil for casting out devils. I feel like that's where we are now. Like, so Kyle Rittenhouse deserves to be defended, but Jacob Blake was shot 7 times and chained to his hospital bed. And they're saying, I don't know, but they're saying, see how I give room for the truth. But they're saying he's paralyzed. I don't know why they would lie about it though, but they're saying he was paralyzed. And so
Yeah, and they're saying that he's chained to the bed too. They have handcuffed him to the bed.
And that's my point. But they also came out and said that because of public opinion, and public pushback, he's no longer chained to the bed. What's up, Arthur Chapman?
Okay, good.
Yeah. So and I'm just saying, like, they're trying to twist our arms, and I don't think the media is the devil, but I think what we do with information. We can't control anything outside of our household. We can't control anything outside of us, but we can control how we respond to things. And if we're going to call ourselves Christians, if we're going to call ourselves humans, if we're going to call ourselves, our neighbors and our brothers keepers, we're brothers, we're fathers, we're mothers, we're sisters, we're aunts, we're uncles, we have relatives. How can we love them but not love God's creation? How can we defend this person? So yeah, that person may have been, that person might be a sex offender, but did he deserve, or did she deserve to die? We don't know what they were doing there, like a human life has been lost, but there's an awakening to politicize and see, because what people don't realize is the next step is thinking of that person like as your enemy, but that person did do nothing to you. We don't know the circumstances surrounding this person being a sex offender. You know what I'm saying? Like we act as if our criminal justice system has not falsely imprisoned people all the time.
Mm-hmm.
When Obama was in office, I felt like literally, and even still to this day, I feel like every month people are being released from prison. There was a guy who just did 44 years, falsely in prison, a black gentleman.
And
So
that's why a lot of people throw shade at Kim Kardashian, but Kim Kardashian's over here doing stuff.
yeah,
Over here
and
trying to get, I mean,
hmm
you can talk
yep,
about her all you want to, but Kim
hmm
Kardashian doing her thing with getting folks out for and for the innocence and for like the petty crimes and stuff like that
yeah,
where they've been in for too
yes,
long. So
yes. And I think the powers that be want this to remain a black and white thing. As long as police brutality is a group of black people saying something about it, it's all good. And you and I know, and hopefully the people who will watch this know that everyone is protesting. Americans are protesting. I'm happy to see that the NBA, are
Arthur said
standing
hey to
up.
you. Arthur said hey to you.
Yeah, I say hey to him back. What's up, man?
Oh,
Um, but I think it's time to really take a look at what's being said and sit with it. And don't just go with what the masses are saying. Because even Fox News will switch it up and tell the truth sometimes, you know?
which is yeah, which is kind of
Even
is
Chris Wallace,
interesting. Hmm.
yeah, like Chris Wallace, has his own opinions about things, and the truth is out there. But if you just go with what's inflammatory and what excites you, and your every thought is to be against your neighbor, to be against your fellow American citizen who's different, they like people are using Democrats. People are calling Republicans crazy things. People are fighting somebody just because they got a MAGA hat on. People are, trying to say Black Lives Matter is a terrorist group. Like, are you serious? And what is crazy to me is that people can't even understand that the protest is for you too. They're protesting American police on American soil,
Hmm.
right? They're not
Hmm.
protesting, they're
Hmm.
protesting American police on American soil, and that's how you digest media with the truth. Like you repeat it in your head. You don't go to sleep and allow that, like we're looking at screens right now. You don't go to sleep and allow the screen to download into you, but you take what the screen is saying and you ask yourself, what do I feel about that? What do I think about that? What has my experience been? And what has my experience? And this is why you need friends who came from different areas in you. This is why you need
Yeah.
diverse friends. This is why you need diverse group. This is why you need to have the conversations that help open your eyes, to someone else's experience. Because there's a lot of people right now who listen to the media that suits them.
Yeah,
I want a
their comfort
conservative
zone.
narrative.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I'm a stay there. Nothing that's going to challenge me, and that's only going to further embed me to not be a good neighbor to somebody until to somebody different than me until I'm forced with the experience to have to. Like it's parents out there who are against gay people, right? And then God forbid, but then their child is gay. And now they have to figure out, do I disown my child? Does it even really matter? Or, are you my child and I'm going to love you no matter what? And now, until I had this experience, I used to be against gay people, but my son is gay and my son is a good human. And so now I can't look at gay people this way anymore. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
and as long as we digest media in the way that they are telling us to do it, it's never going to be reconciliation. Like, shouldn't we want life to be better for every American?
Yeah.
But how can life be better for every American when we got more people locked up than any other country per capita hundreds of times? Like what are we doing?
When I saw 2.3 million people are locked up right now, I'm like, that's a lot of people. And I'm not
Yes.
saying that those 2.3 million people should not have been locked up, or majority of those 2.3 million people shouldn't have been locked up, but that is like, whoa. Um,
In a
I
situation like then add it in, right? Like
mhm.
this is how you properly digest that. Now add in that there's quotas, that there's arrest quotas. Now add in that there's privatized prisons. So can you physically fix your mouth, your lips, your mind, your heart to say that those people should be locked up, considering these other things now? That's how you digest the media with truth, by adding in the facts that fill up that bowl. Like
Yeah.
when you go to like I miss the movies, like I just want some pop, when you go get the popcorn and it's like flowing over,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I miss that with all the butter on the top. And that's how we need to do with our facts. Like don't just put one thing in the bag. Like don't nobody just want one kernel of popcorn. Fill that thing up till it's running over. And that's what we should do with the way that we look at this information that's being projected at us constantly. Because y'all, Andre
So
just gave y'all a class on, the prison system and just one state and how that one state, you know, like how did they get all them people in jail? You mean to really tell me there's that much crime? And if there's that much crime, what are they doing to reduce crime?
right, and that's the question, and that's the real question that should be asked is if all those folks are locked up, what avenues of approach are out there
Uh-huh.
that can
Hey,
reduce?
Alex.
My God, like that is
Mm-hmm.
insane to know that Oklahoma was number one for all those years, and now it's better late than never. I will always say that it's better late than never
You're
to
right.
look into prison reform and all that. It's better late than never when it comes to that. My question to you is, Brandon,
Uh-oh, you froze. Uh-oh. Can y'all still hear me? Uh-oh, gotta bring him back. Uh-oh, what happened? You froze.
now now I have my phone on do not disturb, and somebody called me still. So how does that work? How does that work? I have my phone on do not disturb, so I don't even know how I had a call come in. I see my girl Trina's on. Hey Trina. Um, but yeah, I'm like, golly, what happened? Um, and I really want to talk to that person, but I am in the middle of a live, so I'll have to call her back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's Sarna Heeman. You remember Sarna Heeman from EO school? Sarna Heeman,
I do.
real quiet.
Yes.
She was calling me,
Okay.
and I'm like, I have my phone on do not disturb. How did a phone call come in? So so anyway, my question to you is, how do you feel about the how do you feel about that post I showed you about one of my friends talking about Jacob Blake and how on one hand it's Jacob's fault for rushing, I guess, to run to his car or something like it was a part where he left to grab something and there was a knife, something with a knife, something
Mm-hmm.
with the knife, there was a knife in the car, and then that's when the cops were like, "Oh, you're getting shot." And then he was like, "Oh, there was a over like the cops did overkill by like shooting them 7 times.
Mm-hmm.
It could have just did like a taser, something to that effect, like using a taser or
Mm-hmm.
whatever." But there was like a whole argument on his page, just basically talking about, oh well, he was probably already tased and he wasn't responding to the tase. And I'm thinking like, usually
Mm-hmm.
when somebody's tased, I ain't finna mess with you no more. I'm tased.
Mm-hmm.
Like, was he that much of a threat for you to shoot him 7 times
In his back. In his
in
back
his back?
while the officer had grabbed him. And I would just say, I don't
Like,
want
what are
to.
your thoughts on the fact that he said that it's both sides instead of just, oh, because he basically said that there's no evidence that it's about race. There's no evidence that it's about race, and
Well,
I have a hard time agreeing. I mean, but I
well,
mean,
yeah. I mean, I think that to talk first, we can't even get people to admit, this is just my opinion. We can't even get people to
yeah,
admit that it wasn't justified 7 times. We can't even get people
that's what
to
I'm
admit that
saying.
was overkill. So before we could even go to it being about race, we can't even get, and to me, I think that is based on race itself. The
That
fact
is
that's the
that.
reason why people are saying Black Lives Matter, period. I don't care, look, let me ask for our audience, for our viewers, which protest, which political movement has America ever supported? It's only one that I know of in history. And so let's not act like the civil rights movement was a kumbaya, you know, because there was a complaint, an anonymous complaint that I got. And this I got the screenshot. I mean, this person said like, why not bring back the fire hoses and the K9s?
Hmm.
So let's not act like there are movements when people want equality in this country, that is something that we just say, yes, we're gonna sign up, we're gonna do it. And like you said before, Andre, it's already written. Remember, I was like, there has to be some type of legislation. And you said it. You said it for our audience. You said it on this show multiple times. There's already something. There's already something that says we're all created equal. But in reality, that's not it. And if we can't get people to admit that that was overkill and that this person did not need to be shot 7 times, then how can
And I
we?
think that's the part that got me. So the part that got me in his post in particular, and I have much love to him. I'm not even gonna
Hmm.
say his name because I have a lot of respect for him.
Hmm.
But what got me was I'm thinking like kind of basically what you said. Like, can we admit that that was overkill? So we're still gonna. It's like he's somewhat justified, even though it was overkill. It shouldn't have
Hmm.
been overkill, but it's like no, no, no. Him being shot said, regardless to what that 7 shots. So
Hmm.
can we get on that? Can we talk about that there were 7 shots and now he's
Yeah.
paralyzed? He
Yeah.
could have been dead.
Yeah.
He could be dead right now. He
Hmm.
could literally be gone.
Hmm.
So I when I saw that like when I saw the no evidence of it being raced, that was one thing. But then I went back to what you said of earlier too, of like, can we just acknowledge that that was too much?
Hmm.
Because if we're talking about his actions, why are we talking about his actions for? Because his actions don't even it doesn't even equate to being shot 7 times. And
Hmm.
I think that's the true point that I feel like a lot of people should consider that want to have an argument on like, oh well, he was.
Uh-oh. You froze again, Andre. Oh, you froze again. Say that again.
Listen, everybody calling me, and I have my phone on do not disturb. How are people calling me right now? I think my phone doesn't work with that. I don't know.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Um, yeah, I just think that if we could admit that first, because I'm all about, you know what I'm learning? If you want to help people see things from your perspective, like I've definitely learned how to sandwich it. Don't you think I have, Andre? Like I had, and Anthony, I don't know if he's still on, but Anthony could attest to it. I have learned how to sandwich things. And like first we
I'm
get
hearing,
to
oh, you know what? I'm hearing playback.
your,
I'm hearing a repeat. So my AirPods are tripping again.
do you need them for us to be able to hear?
Yeah, because I can't even hear you. I can't even hear you because I'm hearing you talk right now.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna leave and then invite me back in.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Hopefully this will work, y'all. Thanks. Thanks, Brother Williams. Let's see. Trying to get him back. Um, hmm. Okay, so let's see. Trying to get him back on here. Hmm. I don't even see him online anymore. Well, how's everybody doing tonight? I don't see Andre on here anymore. And it's interesting. Okay, there he's back. Boom, there he is. Okay. Is
Lord
it working now?
Jesus. Yes, everything's
Okay,
good
cool.
now.
Okay. See,
So, look,
you got them on.
the
You
devil
got them on
playing.
Beat Me 911.
I'm thinking like, what the world is going on? Like, people are calling. Ugh. Oh, I see my aunt came back on. Hey,
What up,
auntie again.
Auntie? Where were we at?
So, no, I was just elaborating on the post that I saw about his viewpoints on like, oh well, he played a part in him being shot,
Hmm.
period. But then the cops overreacted. So I'm thinking like, so you're not gonna just blatantly see as a human
Right.
being, doesn't matter what the
Yes.
race is, that he got shot 7 times. I think that's the part that gets me more than the
Hmm.
race thing. But I pointed out race because I'm
Yeah.
thinking like,
I think you are, I think I understand why you pointed out race because we've seen people, we've seen officers exercise great restraint, being chased by, people, white men who were armed. We've seen greater restraint,
mm,
and they're still alive, and they just happen to be white. And so to ask, an officer shot this person 7 times to ask if that was overkill, I don't think it's unreasonable. And if we can't get to that, if we can't establish that, then I don't think we don't have a foundation that we can build on. Essentially, you're saying he should have been shot 7 times, potentially losing his life. Essentially, that's what they're saying. This is why I'm saying, that's why my topic is digesting.
but they'll say that they're not saying that. They're gonna tell you that they're just trying to see it from all angles and be like, oh, we're trying to see it from a different point of view. It's not always about race and all
Well,
this
that's why I
stuff,
say
and
that's
that's what
that's
they'll
why I
say.
say, can we get to the place where we can say shooting someone 7 times at point blank range is overkill? I mean, like it could have turned into a police chase. I mean, maybe it wouldn't have. Like, was there any de-escalation? What's the facts of the story? And that's the other problem, digesting media with truth. Why do the police take so long to come out with the facts? Does it really take that long to do an investigation, or are you using that cool off period that police officers have to get their story straight? You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like, are you trying to hide and change and twist information? You know, like I think it was the first. See, sometimes I be getting my facts mixed up, but I think the first press conference for George Floyd, that guy went up there. I forget what his position was, but he said that nobody had like died on the scene, that somebody was just apprehended. You know what I mean? Like twisting the facts when we all saw everything on video. We saw his lifeless body be loaded up on that stretcher. You know what I'm saying? So how they're trying to change what we have seen, heard with our own two eyes, and then tell us you didn't see that. You're just being emotional. Emotions don't matter. Facts matter. But whose facts matter? Like if you watch the DNC and the RNC, um, the RNC was a bit interesting. And when I listen to conservatives, I feel like they're saying it's only if you believe like them are you patriotic. Only if you think like them are you a person who loves your country. Like if you protest police brutality by kneeling, you're disrespecting the flag. Like how does that how see what they're see? That's the powers that be who don't want nothing to change, who are happy with the way things are. So I would ask that person, are you okay with police brutality then? Yeah, well, just don't protest it that way. Well, you just don't want to face the facts then. You don't want to face the facts that police brutality exists. And it happens to white people too. Tony Tampa or Tempa 2016. If you don't know about him, look him up. A white man in Dallas, Texas, who died this nearly about the same way. That's something Shay says. He's so country from Alabama. Nearly about the same way George Floyd died. That was on his back. And just like somebody when they're dying, you know what I'm saying, their mental faculties ain't there. They start saying crazy stuff. And these police officers laughed about it. So before anybody want to come up to me talking about there's good police officers, what do you think about them first? What do you think about them first? Should they be locked up? Because I feel like people are playing games and now it's getting serious. It's been serious, but now it's getting more serious because people are losing their lives over this. People are losing their lives. Like, what about like I respect human life, and what about the fact that like Kyle Rittenhouse could go to jail? He could go to jail for murder. He probably would. I mean, he should. I think he should. But what about the fact that somebody said something that made him feel like that was the right thing to do? This is why I'm trying to drive home the point that we have to digest the media with truth, because if we get on here and we lie, like conservatives, probably for the last 5 years, you can Google it right now, Ben Shapiro calling for civil war. Alex Jones, some of these other conservative radio talk hosts have been calling for civil war in America on American streets for a while. And it's like, I believe in free speech. Okay, say what you want, but when what you say has ramifications of people losing their lives and influencing young people to take up arms, go to a city to, and maybe he didn't go there to kill protesters, but that's what happened. Why was he there? Why did he feel the need? I need to take up arms for what? Did he go down there to protect people from the police? The police are the ones who are, what's up, Clifton? We were in the army together at Fort Knox. We go way, way back.
Okay, to the Fort
Yeah,
Knox
when I
days.
was in the that's when I was in the CAV. We were some specs in the CAV. um,
Okay,
but yeah,
specs.
like I just think that, these things really need to be looked at, and I want to impress upon people to digest the media with truth because it's all around you. The reason why you have to digest the media with truth is because even if you're not political, your friends are, your parents are, somebody around you is, and we can't be on the sidelines anymore when it comes to justice. Like you as a human being, if you believe in justice, grace, and mercy, like if you call yourself a believer in the Most High, then don't be like the Pharisees. Yahusha, I feel like he cussed at them in that day. He called them
Mm-hmm.
covered tombs of decay. He said, "Y'all so worried about the outside of the cup. Look here. I got a prop. Y'all so worried about the outside of the cup. Look, Andre. Y'all so worried about the outside of the cup
Yep.
and you wash the outside and make sure it's clean, but you don't do nothing. Look, it got wax in it. But you don't make sure the inside is clean. So these people are so worried about what stuff looks like that we can't be like that. We can't reject grace and mercy that we have freely received
Right.
and call us believers. You know, Christ said, look, don't even come to, if you have an art with your brother, don't even come to the altar. Leave your offering at the altar. Go to your brother, make it right, then come back. But yet, still today, the church can be silent on racial injustices. And the church, we got pastors calling out social justice warriors. So you want to mock this person who believes in humanity, who believes that people deserve grace and mercy, who believes that, you know what, why is recidivism so high? Why, maybe we can't even have the conversation about defunding the police because before we can get there, can we all agree that qualified immunity is wrong? This why I'm gonna run for office someday because I feel like we could craft the conversations in which they will not be debatable.
And that, well, I mean, I honestly feel that politicians are supposed to be designed to
Right.
do that.
But they're not. And they need some help.
Hmm.
And maybe I'm gonna help them out. Because look, if we can
Boom.
decide that qualified immunity is wrong, then we could build from there. Unless because I haven't
Mm.
heard a whole bunch of people talk about qualified immunity within defunding the police. I heard them talk about reform, training, that kind of thing. But I ain't heard them. I haven't heard the main push. And maybe it has happened. Maybe it's in there. But I haven't heard this big push for qualified immunity. If we do away with that, then we can do away with police unions' power over politicians, because police unions help politicians get elected. Their voice
Hmm.
collectively is stronger than my vote and your vote. Now, people might not want to admit that, but I'm just saying. So
It's
if
true
we can
though.
establish, that's my goal from here. If you want to be able to have a peaceful conversation with somebody, try to do it in such a way that, it produces peace. And the way to do that is establishing a foundation first. So once again, recapping, if we look at Jacob Blake, can we acknowledge that he didn't need to be shot 7 times? If we could have just acknowledged,
Yeah.
so look, this is what the media does. They'll be like, oh, he had this case and try to bring that into the narrative. But did the police officer know that he had that case at that time? So are you saying the police officer was motivated because he knew his whole rap sheet right then and there? So was the police officer being the judge, jury, and the execution? You see what I'm saying? Okay, no. So now what they want to do with that? No, take that out because that's not what we're saying, right? Okay, well then can't we say that being shot 7 times in the back is overkill? Yes. Okay. Okay, now that we have established that, you know, no restraint was really used here, or y'all tried tasers, you say that didn't work, then you shot him, but did you need to shoot him 7 times? No, we didn't. Okay, now, why did you?
I find it hard to believe though, but I want to just go back to the tasers part. So I heard that he was tased. I'm just not everybody takes a taser. I see Elder Kenny's on. Hey,
What's up,
Elder
Elder
Kenny.
Kenny?
Um, I know that I what okay. So back to tasers. So I know everybody handles tasers differently. Some people don't react to them
Mm-hmm.
as strongly as others, like when they're hit with a taser. But I know that from what I have
Mm-hmm.
seen, tasers are effective.
Right.
I don't. They're
Yeah.
very effective. Like, listen, you tase me one time, I am listening
Locked
to
up.
whatever you want me to do.
Go to sleep.
Right, like whatever you need me to do, I'm done. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, shooting them. Period. I feel is a
Yeah.
lot, if
Mm-hmm.
anything. But then tasing, like, your average person is not going to give you any pushback when you tase
Mm.
them. So I'm just trying to wrap my mind
Mm-hmm.
around 7 times, but why shoot him
Mm-hmm.
anyway?
Agreed.
Did he have a gun too?
Agreed. So see,
Did he have a gun and pointed it? Did he point a gun at the police
see,
officer?
and that's and
So it's
that's
like,
what
did that
and that's what I'm
happen?
talking about, and that's how we start at a place where we can start at the most basic foundation and then build upon. Because what they want to do
Hmm.
is they want you to respond like this, the person who disagrees with you, and then nobody listen to one another because we just but
Nobody's
but
listening.
meanwhile,
No.
this continues to keep happening to Black Americans. So I can't understand how anybody does not understand why Black Lives Matter exists. I cannot understand why anybody doesn't understand why people are protesting. I mean, how many more names, I mean, how many more people need to die before Americans acknowledge, like, on all sides? You know what I'm saying? Till every American acknowledges that this is an American problem. It's not a black and white problem. It's not a black and police problem. It's a policing in America problem. And it's been that way for a
And
while.
you want to know what I also think, and then I want to
Okay.
move on because this is a little bit of a deep topic that we can probably discuss further. But a part of me feels like the ones that right. So a part of me feels like the ones that have this issue with Black Lives Matter, the same individuals, and we know who they are. We don't have to say who they are. The same ones that have an, I'm talking about that we
Hmm.
know. Not, I mean, I don't care about the ones that we don't know, but the ones that we do
Hmm.
know that have an issue with Black Lives Matter, how will it feel when it's, and I'm not speaking it on us, but when it's someone like me or you, where they know us and something happens to us, where they
Mm,
know it doesn't our character's not even not even in question
mm,
because y'all know my character. So does it have to take you knowing somebody personally for you to open your
mm,
eyes, or should your eyes open sooner than that?
mm,
And that's what I've been thinking about that over the last like few weeks. Like, wow, there's so many people that have an issue with Black Lives Matter. I have an issue when people discuss race. But what if something were to happen to me? Would you change your thought process
mm,
then? Because I'm now you know me
mm,
personally now. So so, and you know my rap sheet,
mm.
okay? If we want to talk about rap sheets, you know that I ain't got nothing on my records. I'm clean as a whistle, honey
Yeah,
bun. So you know what
yeah.
I mean? So it's like, does it have to take you knowing somebody that is a minority or knowing someone
Mm,
that's African American for you to be like, oh,
mm,
well, okay, maybe I understand why people are saying Black Lives Matter
mm,
because somebody that I know personally is affected. So kind of like with COVID-19, where these people are not wearing their mask. That's another. There is a episode which is maybe the next one where I'm going to be talking about COVID-19 with
okay.
masks. But there's people that are not wearing masks the right way. I was in the store today. People got their masks down here, face all out, their mask where the nose is exposed. I'm thinking like, so
Hmm.
like what's going on? And I'm talking about everybody. I'm not targeting a race. This multiple different
Hmm.
people not wearing the mask correctly. So um the does it have to take someone in your family being affected with COVID-19 for you to
Yeah,
wake up? You're being inconsiderate of
yeah.
others that have their mask on, that's trying to protect themselves. You're just careless
Hmm.
with it. Regardless to the percentage of folks that were affected, regardless to because there is a percentage and it's still low, it's still relatively low. But it doesn't
Hmm.
matter. There's COVID-19 is still
Right.
around. So and it just grinds my gears when I see the
Hmm.
carelessness of individuals that don't want to put it on
Hmm.
properly, um, and they're like not caring. But no, they start to care when their aunt has been
Yep.
diagnosed with it, or when their father
Yep.
got hit with it, or when their best friend got hit with it. Now they're like, ooh, well, let me. It shouldn't have had to
Right.
take you knowing somebody for you to get it
Hmm.
right with how to wear that mask and when to wear the
Yeah.
mask. It shouldn't have to take that.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother conversation because I do want to talk about masks in future
Okay.
episodes.
I think you're absolutely right. And that's exactly what I'm talking about when I say digesting the media with truth. Because there's a lot of media out there that will say that a mask doesn't do anything, and people have videos and this and that. And then there's a lot of information out there that says that masks do help. And I think, when it comes to digesting the media with truth, I think it's important, right? Some of these people be calling themselves believers, but yet, and the scripture talks about obey the laws of the land, but you don't want to obey that one. And then, like, you know,
Well, they say that's not a law because it's not a
okay,
law. So their argument,
yeah,
I'm just telling you, their argument is like, oh, it's
you're
not
right.
law. They're just making it strongly
Hmm.
recommended. It's, but the story, so it's
Hmm.
like, well, I'm not required by law to wear it.
Right.
So
Yeah, and I think that, that's where it comes back to, is that true though? Okay, so it's not a law. But what do you think about it? Like, is it going to take? I mean, For that person, I would say, do you think COVID-19 is even real? Do they think it's even real?
There's conspiracy theorists that do not think it's real, that they think it's a
Hmm.
hoax, and that they're and no, they don't believe in the COVID
Hmm.
19.
So all
Um,
these hundred some
and
thousand
it's
people, like that's a lie.
I think we're at 181,000 people or 180
Hmm.
something thousand people that have died altogether
So
for the virus.
that's a lie to them.
Um, so you're saying that their family members is just lying, so they said they got COVID, but they really didn't have
Hmm.
COVID. Okay, and I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation there as
But
well.
it's
But
one that sort of ties in. I'm not saying we gotta have it now, but it's a good one because it kind of ties into exactly what I'm saying, like digest the media with truth, and who determines what's true or not. Like that's another thing. What's your foundation of truth? And I think one of the easiest ways to know if you have the truth is, does it motivate you to love? That's how you know. That's the
mhm,
tester. Does it motivate you to love people? If it motivates you to love God's creation, it's the truth. If it does not motivate you to love God's creation, it probably ain't true. And that's the greatest commandment that Yahusha, when he was asked, okay, like what's the greatest commandment though? People always want to test stuff. What's the greatest commandment though? He said to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And the second is like unto the first. They both here. And on those two things
mhm.
fulfill all the laws and the prophets. So if you love God and you love his creation, you there. That's it. That's your only requirement. Not to tell gay people they're going to hell, not to,
Kim Barrel
Kim
said it.
Barrow.
I'm sorry, I'm putting Kim
Kim
Barrow,
Barrow.
Kim Burrell, Kim Barrow.
Yeah, like that is your job as a believer. You know what I'm saying? And last I checked, the
Mhm.
scripture says Satan is the accuser of the saints. So if all you doing is accusing people, and accusing believers, then you might be on the wrong team. And so I just think, to
Ooh, you may be on the wrong, the wrong genre of music. I'm sorry, I'm just throwing Kim Burrell under the bus. Kim Burrell's a gospel singer, and she like bashed the gays. So I
yeah,
just wanted to put that
yeah,
out there for those of you that want to look up Kim
yes.
Burrell. So I'm sorry,
So
she can sing her face off,
yes.
but she's a hypocrite. But anyway,
Yeah, and I just think, I really just, in wrapping it up, I really think it's time to um, have the conversation with people who are different than you,
hmm
digest the media with truth, figure it out. And I think the best way to start digesting the media with truth is to ask your friends who are involved. You know what I'm saying? Like I
hmm
love other cultures, and like when Islamic Jihad, I started hearing that, like the wars, and they were like, this is jihad. And I asked, I had a friend from Jordan, and I asked him, like, okay, what is jihad? Because I want to know. Like, this is what they're saying on the news. This is what they're saying it means. Is that what that means to you? Is you kind of coming to blow, do I need to not come to, let me know when I need to not come to the gym. I'm kidding. We got to put some humor in this. It'd be heavy sometimes, but like, yeah, I'm like, is that
yes, we was on her for almost two
for real?
hours.
Okay, we get ready to go.
Yeah, because Maria said you went on at 1900. You still on? Like what's
Yeah,
going on? Y'all too
yeah.
long.
Well, because
Don't be
I
judging
know,
us.
right?
We be in here. We be in here going in,
Helping the
and
people.
that's why I had to make sure I ate dinner. Well, I had to make sure I ate dinner
Hmm.
beforehand because I'm like, I already know I'm gonna not eat dinner if I'm going on
Yeah.
live with you. Like I gotta eat before because we get to
Hmm.
talking and you get deep on us. You become Prophet Island in the
Right. I
middle
can't. I
of the
can't help
session.
it.
So
Yeah. Okay. And the
you
last
know,
thing, for real, the last thing that I have, so you don't need to ask me if I got any more closing comments because I will go or more. But the last thing I have for real, for my believers, I always got to talk to my believers, not to separate you. It is for everyone. So if you can believe it, receive it, achieve it, whatever, if you can accept what I'm about to say, look, Daniel
yeah.
chapter 7, verse 25, it says, and he, talking about Satan, will wear out the saints of the Most High. If you're wondering about what time it is, not just time for the show to end, but if you're wondering about what time it is, that's what time it is. Like we are in like Satan is trying to keep us in a perpetual state of incapacitation, through shock and awe, through murders, through police brutality, through the pandemic, and I just want to challenge people to understand that and to stay connected to those good sources. Like Andre and I, we're not close, but we try to talk. We try to talk often. We pray for one another. You know, be around people who are positive, who can uplift you and also help you digest this truth. Because these conversations are being had, and we can have them from a place of truth where it'll produce something, or we can have it from a place of lies,
Mm-hmm.
which produces stuff that we don't want: depression, anxiety, homicide. We don't want none of that. So I just had to share, prophetically speaking, like where we at. And I always want to make sure that I do that because that's the best that I can give.
I'm with it. So, with that, that concludes our episode of Vibelytical. We want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for the comments that actually geared us to go into a deeper discussion. It always helps. I know that there's some watchers that don't say anything. That's fine. I definitely don't want to force anybody to say anything, because if you want to sit back and just watch, please do that
Mhm.
too. We just want to ensure that we're impacting you in a way that's uplifting and edifying, as Brandon and I say. So thank you so much for tuning in. We will. So one thing that we discussed, Brandon and I discussed, is that we will probably not go on live at the same time every time on Sunday. We're actually testing out going in at different times. So like we usually go on at 3 o'clock, but then being that Brandon is now in Maryland, he knows more people there. So people have been wanting to hang out. So with that being said, and I'm not throwing Brandon under the bus, I'm just saying, but like that's what there may be adjustments to the times that we start, just to kind of fill out how many
Mhm.
viewers that we get and the engagement. Because the thing is that we know we get viewers after the show ends, and that's good. The content is going to be there. But it is also good, and I'm speaking more for me being the moderator, it's good that I get feedback from you all too, because I can read those comments out
Mhm.
loud and then we can discuss
Mhm.
those. So it is good to have the dialogue during the live for you to say something, engage, so we can have something to go off of and talk about in addition to what me and Brandon are discussing. So, but like we said, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you until next time. We will still be doing pop-ups as
Mhm.
well. So we may be popping up in the middle of the week, saying hi and all that stuff. So until next time, because Brandon doesn't have anything else, I don't have
Mhm.
nothing else, because Brandon will talk for 10 more
Mhm.
minutes. Um, thank you for tuning in, y'all. One
Yep,
more thing. What do you
just
got?
this. Please like, share, and comment, and we will, get back to your comments. And thank you for joining us.
Yes, and I need to make sure I add that. I'm glad you said it, Brandon, because I wouldn't have
Hmm.
said, oh, please like, share, comment. Like, I wouldn't have said that. So I got to remember to say that. I see Elisa came
Hmm.
on. My girl Elisa came
Hey,
on
Elisa.
today as we're getting ready to
Hmm.
go. But yeah, so please like, share, and comment like Brandon said. And until next time, Bob Lytical will be back on your
Yeah.
live.
Be blessed. Later, Andre.
All right, talk to y'all
Yep.
later.